Tens of thousands of families in Oregon applied for rental assistance during the pandemic. The federal government gave more than $200 million to the state to help, but it came with a deadline. Oregon had to spend at least 65% of that money by the end of September, or the feds could take it back. As of September 30th, Oregon had allocated $69.6 million of its rental assistance budget. That's roughly 73%.
That 73% figure, which exceeds the U.S. Treasury's 65% benchmark, would make Oregon eligible to receive additional ERA funding. We believe this funding will be needed in our state, and we will be advocating for Oregon to receive those additional funds.
Now the state needs to focus on the remaining applications that haven't been processed yet. The problem is some of those applications are outside the 60-day window that started at the end of June. It protected renters from eviction as long as they could prove to their landlords that they applied for assistance. In Multnomah County, it was a 90-day protection, so there's still a little time. Officials say if someone has fallen behind on rent, they should call 211 right away and apply for help at OregonRentalAssistance.org.
In Washington, today marks 2 weeks from the upcoming vaccine mandate that requires state workers to prove they've been vaccinated against COVID or lose their job. That's just enough time to qualify as fully vaccinated if you get the Johnson & Johnson shot today or the second dose of Pfizer or Moderna. Governor Inslee's mandate does include some provisions for medical and religious exemptions, but most employees will have to prove full vaccination status by the 18th. Meanwhile, in Oregon, nearly 800 legacy health employees are on unpaid leave and could soon lose their jobs unless they get the vaccine.
We're going to take you back to Friday for a moment to share more details in this story. Friday is when unvaccinated healthcare workers protested the vaccine mandate at Mount Hood Medical Center in Gresham. Hundreds of unvaccinated legacy workers filed religious exemptions, but many of them were denied. Also, of those nearly 800 legacy employees who were placed on leave, we found out that more than 180 of them have already started a vaccine series, and those workers will be able to return to work once they're fully vaccinated. In fact, any employee that's at least partially vaccinated by October 18th can return to work as soon as they're fully vaccinated.
Well, California has announced a COVID vaccination mandate for school kids. It's the first of its kind in the country. Governor Gavin Newsom says it'll affect students 12 and older in 7th through 12th grade. Right now, the vaccine is only approved for kids 16 and up. Eventually, though, California plans to mandate the vaccine for kids as young as kindergarten.
A new COVID testing option has launched for Portland students. It's free and aimed at catching cases in kids who aren't showing symptoms. The Oregon Health Authority created this video showing kids how to spit in a tube first thing in the morning, then bring their sample to school once a week. The samples will be picked up by couriers for OHSU, then examined in their lab. Parents will be notified of the results within 48 hours. It's all voluntary, and schools hope to get more families involved.
We are preparing bundles of kits. We're hoping to send home 3 to 4 weeks worth of kits with students in their backpack, so they'll have them at home.
It's a great program. I encourage as many families that feel safe or want to sign up for them to sign up.
The state is working to make testing available to every district that wants to participate.
The worker shortage that we've been talking about for most of the past year is having an impact on this year's harvest season at local vineyards. Some winemakers are trying to match the high pay that's being offered at hemp and cannabis farms. Others are keeping workers on a sliding scale that reflects the demand. And then there are some winery owners who are taking matters into their own hands by going out into the fields and picking the grapes themselves.
Everybody's going to have to be doing a little bit more to account for fewer hours from other people, and then just not the actual bodies to do the labor.
That's Christina Alvarez with Hummingbird Estate in Southern Oregon. She says the lack of affordable housing is also playing a part right now in the lack of seasonal workers.
Well, Depot Bay is known as the whale watching capital of the Oregon coast. Now a project is underway to protect it so it stays accessible to whale watching and fishing and rescue boats. Here's how it works. These machines are removing silt and other material before it gets into the bay. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers does this work about every 10 years. If it didn't, the sediment that runs down from the mountains would build up in the catch basin and eventually flow over the dam into the bay.
Yeah, we've got Coast Guard, fishing industry, there's tourism, the whale watching. Yeah, there's a lot of activity that happens here in the harbor, and it's important to keep it open and operational.
The Corps says it's going to end up with about 200 dump trucks full of silt, which will be then taken off site.
Well, after a year-long hiatus because of the pandemic, the Portland Marathon made its much-welcomed return bright and early yesterday.
There were thousands, we're seeing some of them, but thousands of people who showed up in downtown Portland for the race. And as Tim Gordon reports, the weather conditions yesterday were perfect for running.
3, 2, 1. The 49th annual Portland Marathon. A perfect sunrise start for the Portland Marathon, with roughly 4,000 runners taking on the full 26.2 miles or the half marathon course. All required to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test to run. This was a day many people have been waiting for. This race, like others across the country, canceled in 2020 because of the pandemic.
But to have this moment, it just feels like a weight is lifted off of us, and we're here celebrating with one another again, and doing it as safely as we possibly can.
Along with the runners, lots of supportive spectators. Many, but not all, followed rules for mask wearing at the finish line. They got to see the first marathoner across the finish line, Matt Spear from Seaside.
A great race, good weather, good group of runners out there, and yeah, stoked to be running and racing again.
And the first woman to finish, Carrie Hamilton from the Spokane area. She finished first at the Vancouver Marathon 2 weeks ago and again today.
The Vancouver one was mine and my husband's first in like 2 years, so it's definitely welcome. I'm so glad they're back. And yeah, just really happy.
Happy is a common feeling. This woman came from New Jersey to run the half marathon with her sister. She finished first, then greeted her. How do you feel?
I feel glad that it's done. Woo! Yeah, I wouldn't have done it without my sister.
Snapshots of the Portland Marathon 2021, starting and finishing along the waterfront, bringing people together to run and then recover, and to cheer on people like Andre Rochelle, tackling his first half marathon ever.
I decided to want to do this right now because I'm finished with it. But it's very awesome. I encourage others to try it if ever you can. You don't have to run fast, you can walk. But it's amazing. At 55, I'm still alive. And they gave me the towel around my neck. I feel special.
In Portland, Tim Gordon, KGW News.
That was after the run, Chris. I guess he's on one of those runner's highs.
He is on cloud 9, and what a sweet finisher's medal too. That medal was really something, man. I'm envious.
You weren't at the event, but we're working yesterday. So when we said it was ideal weather-wise, is that the accurate description?
Absolutely. You could not have had a better day to run a marathon than what we had yesterday in Portland. No wind, not a lot of sun. At least not while the runners were running, and the temperatures were generally in the 40s to start the race, and they hung out in the 40s and low 50s for most of the day. Anybody that does any long distance running knows that heat dissipation is one of the biggest things that affects your performance in distance running. So great to run in cool weather, and it's just a nice day. Great for the spectators too. All right, this morning we are off to a bit of a cloudy start. This is a live look from our Rose City sky camera. I know it's still dark, but you can kind of see a little bit of cloud cover there. And we're warmer than we were yesterday at this time. A good 10 degrees warmer right now in Portland than yesterday. 56 last check at PDX, Beaverton 49, 54 in Salem. And the big picture across the state, Baker City continuing to be the cool spot right now at 35. Burns checking in with 40 degrees. Cloud cover streaming in ahead of our next weather maker. No rain in our forecast today, but this spin in the clouds dropping out of the Gulf of Alaska will drive a cold front into the Pacific Northwest tomorrow. And so rain is back in the forecast on Tuesday. I'll show you that to you with Futurecast. Again, a lot of cloud cover across the region today. We may poke a few holes in that cloud cover, but the transition here is certainly, or our Monday is going to look a lot different than the weekend did. All right, let's fast forward into Tuesday. This is tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Rain hits the Oregon coast first and then sweeps inland during the day. So by mid-morning, I think we're getting wet here in Portland. and then that rain will likely last into Tuesday's afternoon commute. Showers back in the forecast, or they remain in the forecast on Wednesday. And guys, look how cool we get. Daytime highs only in the lower 60s after today, and overnight lows in town in the 40s. And that means a lot of our outlying communities will likely be waking up to 30-degree temperatures as we get towards the end of the week.